Hello, Thought Roomies, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Hallie Rose. You guys, it's episode 50. This is absolutely wild to me. I am feeling very sentimental right now because during this episode, I talk about the humble beginnings of this podcast when it was just me and a tiny little field recorder and one other team member who was helping me edit the sound. And I basically was just interviewing my friends. And at one point had the opportunity to go down to Soltara Healing Center, which is now one of our sponsors. And I just had no idea what I was doing or if anybody would listen to this. And now we're celebrating episode 50. And I am humbled to get messages every single week from all of you, letting me know how much the show means to you, how much it's shaping your spiritual journey, and how much you're learning. So you can probably hear the emotion in my voice, the excitement in my voice. And celebrating this for me is also celebrating you because the show would not exist without you, your support. Every time you've told a friend about the Thought Room, every time you've texted an episode, every time you've put it on your Instagram story, all of this makes this show. So thank you. You rock. I'm so glad. And I'm looking forward to celebrating many more milestones with all of you. Thank you, especially to those of you who have been with us from the very beginning, those of you who have donated to this show. Multitude of thanks. This week, I have my friend Ben Harris on the podcast. Ben is affectionately the Fear Guy on Instagram. He's a fear alchemist. He's an intuitive guide. And he hosts his own podcast called Feeling Free, which I actually was a guest on just a couple of months back. So if you check out Ben's podcast, which you definitely should, you can go look for the episode we did together on his podcast. And it really connects very well to this one that you're about to hear. Ben and I sat down to talk about the possibilities that arise when we can learn to love our fear and trust our own inner knowing. So we discuss how generally we're all conditioned to live in fear, and that's natural. It's kind of actually part of how we're wired. And a mentor said something to me the other day. She said, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's having the fear and being with it and standing with it. And that's a little bit of what we dive into today. And how can we navigate this connection between the fear of failure and the fear of success, which, at first we think, wow, I'm not afraid of succeeding. But if we dig a little bit deeper, which Ben and I definitely do in this episode, we can see how those two things are linked. And then we talk about some ways we can rewrite those fear-based stories. The title of this episode is Are You Afraid to Shine? And as you will soon hear in this episode, a part of me still was. And Ben really, really, really helped me to unpack that. So I'm feeling so blessed to have friends who are gifted coaches like Ben. And we have a lot of fun in this episode. About partway through, when our conversation sort of slips into naturally just on the spot coaching. And Ben is in real time helping me work through some of my challenges around being a conscious leader and how to stay in integrity as I grow my dream. So you'll get to hear us work through that. And later, the roles reverse. And at one point, I take Ben into such a deep visualization that he puts down his microphone and he lays himself down on the floor of my living room. And if you watch this on YouTube, you'll be able to see all this. But we go really, really, really deep. And I'm excited for you to have a little taste of what different styles of powerful coaching can look like. I've never done anything quite like this on the show, so I'm excited to hear your feedback. If after listening to this episode, you feel excited or called to work with either Ben or myself, I want to encourage you to reach out to us. We both offer one-on-one coaching programs. And these programs are for people who have done a little bit of their own, or maybe a lot of their own personal work. They've gotten to a certain point where they feel like they've hit a threshold and they know there's something keeping them stuck or frustrated, but they can't really identify exactly what it is because most likely it's a subconscious belief, and we all have these. And so part of what Ben and I do and what you'll see in this episode is we help each other to really dig deep and find out what's going on underneath. So if that appeals to you, my website for one-on-one coaching is hallierose.com. It's very easy to find on the homepage, and you can just click the application link on there. I am right now really only interested in working with people who want to go really deep, which to me is committing to a 6-month or year-long mentorship. I'm full for other coaching spaces, but if you are looking to go on a longer journey, go ahead and fill that application out for a 6-month or year-long mentorship. And Ben's website, if you want to work with him, is www.feeling-free.com. And if you've been wanting to work with me for a while, but one-on-one coaching or a year-long mentorship doesn't feel accessible financially or energetically to you, then do not fret, because this episode actually inspired me to begin creating a program. And you'll hear all about it in this episode, because Ben actually says, "Oh my gosh, that's a great idea. You should make that into a program." So here we are. The program is going to be called Multidimensional Emotional Mastery. Ooh, intriguing. And if you want to get notified when spaces become available, listen carefully. Here's the link. And we'll also put this in the show notes. It's www.hallierose.com/mastery. Okay. And if you go there, you're going to be able to fill out a very short form with your information, and then you'll get the email when a space opens up. So this is for somebody who is interested in mastering their emotions, healing unconscious wounds. We'll be cultivating effortless, connected, and satisfying relationships, and we'll be working on manifesting your highest potential through empowered action to create a forever change in your life. So if you're ready to feel abundant, in flow, connected, creative, loving, and free, that link is hallierose.com/mastery. So spots will be limited in that. So if that prickles your interest, go ahead and sign up, and you can decide later if it's meant to be. Okay, last thing. I am doing my first ever live podcast event. It's going to be in San Antonio, Texas. And check this. It's going to take place inside what's called the Rainbow Cave. So Google that. Google the Rainbow Cave. It's at Hopscotch in San Antonio, Texas. It's this amazingly trippy looking cave made out of recycled plastic bags from the ocean. And it's all backlit and vibey. We're going to have disco headphones for everybody who attends, silent disco headphones, so you can listen to the podcast in real time from inside of this rainbow cave. And I want to invite you. It's going to be on October 28th. And if you want to get access to this, we can only fit 30 people inside this cave. So if you want to claim a spot, I'm going to invite you for free. And all that I ask is for you to claim your spot. You leave a review for this podcast, and then I will send you an exclusive invite, and there will be space to meet and greet and connect after the podcast. So if you've always wanted to meet me, if you've loved this show so much you want to see one of the podcasts recorded live, then you can come to the Rainbow Cave, where I'll interview the artist and you can hang out with us. So again, if you want to take advantage of this opportunity and claim your spot, go ahead and click the link in the show notes to leave a review for this podcast, and make sure that you leave your Instagram handle or email so that we can contact you. All right, my friends, without further ado, let's step into the thought room with Ben Harris. Ben Harris, the fear guy, welcome to the thought room.
Yo, the thought room. I'm happy to be here with thoughts and feelings and energy and all the things that exist in the infinite room.
Thank you for coming to my home for this interview. We were in your home, what was that, about a month ago?
Yeah, month ago, yeah.
And we did an episode for your show.
Yes, we did.
What was the response to that one?
It was good. I mean, it was all about the fear of feeling good. And so many people, I think I know that's a message and concept that not a lot of people really think about.
Yeah. Can you expand on that for anyone who didn't hear our episode, which obviously they're going to go back and listen to that on your podcast. Your podcast is called Feeling Free.
You are correct.
Yes. So make sure you check out Ben's podcast on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere and go back and listen to that episode that we did. But yeah, can you just give people a brief kind of recap on what we talked about?
For sure. So it was, I forgot what post, it was weird because why we decided to, because we've talked about doing podcasts with each other before, but for whatever reason, I messaged you that same day, but then you also liked that post on Instagram within 20 minutes, but I didn't know that you had liked it, right?
Right.
So it was an interesting, we were in each other's field.
Right. You texted me, hey, let's do that podcast. And I go, oh, he must be reaching out because he saw that I liked his post. And I'm not often interacting with things. So I assume that if someone comes back into my sphere, it's because we've sort of on the interwebs collided, but it wasn't the case. You and I both were just kind of thinking about each other, and then synchronicity would have it that we would get together.
So, and thankfully that what I said in the post just came back to me. So it was what the graphic read was the constant need for healing, and need was underlined. So the constant need for healing is a fear of being healed. Meaning, right? So, and that's what we talked about on the podcast, right? Is we are literally chasing healing, and especially coming from our community. And it's not a bad thing, because we've come from places and backgrounds and experiences where it's absolutely a good thing to look into self-help and then spirituality and energy and all the healing modalities and methods. But then it comes to a point where it's now you are now leaning on that as a crutch, right? So the fear of feeling good, and what you mentioned was now you have manifested all these amazing things. You are now successful, quote unquote, successful, more successful than you thought. And it happened so quickly, and you have all these things and beautiful things in your life. And so, but many of us aren't taught of how to be, what do we do when we actually get it? Because a lot of people subconsciously don't know that they have a fear of feeling good, or fear of being healed, or fear of being successful, because one, they worry about losing it. Two, our nervous system is built to always worry. Our brain, right, subconsciously is always looking to protect us. So it's not a bad thing, right? It's job, your brain, the fear response in your brain isn't to look for good things. It's literally to look how it's to protect you from harm. So when you get success, it's protecting you from the harm of losing it. So that's why you always that's anxiety, that's stress. And a lot of people don't realize that also stress and anxiety is fear too, because it's that coming up with that any resistance is fear, because you're worried about something not going your way. You're not in the moment. So that's what the fear feeling good is all about. Because we were born in and taught survival, even if you have like a really good home. Like I was born with lots of love around me, but just the world is stressful. And so you pick up that it needs to be stressful all the time. And then when things all of a sudden go really well, you've spent years being in a stress response. And so you are conditioned to continue to live that and go back to your default, which is stress and fear.
Yeah. This has got me thinking. It feels like one of the most valuable life skills one could ever, I want to say obtain, but it's a work in progress, is the ability to ride the edge of your fear and be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Like we were talking before we hit record about our edges in relationship and how it's like, how's your conscious relationship going? It's going fantastic. And it's like challenging in these ways that are incredible because it's challenging in a way that's not toxic. I've definitely had challenging relationships and the challenges were toxic and codependent and draining. These challenges that I'm experiencing, I won't speak for you, but I'd love to hear about it. These challenges are like, I'm sitting across from a person that has done enough healing to the point that they are a very clear mirror for me. So when we activate each other, we can come from this place of, oh, wow, they're showing me what is mine. They're showing me what I'm still attached to. They're showing me the kinds of things that can still elicit a highly emotional response from me. This is how I become more conscious, is by, with love, paying attention to the things that they're reflecting to me.
Yeah, it really is like the mix of reading your chalkboard that you have in your home, which I love, right? It says, face fear bravely, thank it and lean in. It is a teacher showing the next layer to be healed, which I absolutely agree, right? I believe that fear reveals where you're not free. So that's exactly what you're talking about, where it is just the next layer and it's continuous. And it's not like, it's so nuanced because for me, someone could take the saying of be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable to not be able to enjoy joy or peace or comfort and again chase healing because they are used to a constant hum of fear and anxiety. So to me, it's that nuance of what you said of, is this useful or is this helpful for me in this, like, am I running from something? Am I hiding from something? Or can I love myself through this moment of, can this be easier than I think? And working on your nervous system just to breathe through it and to like tease out of what you've mentioned of doing enough healing that exposing my truth and even having a difficult conversation or an argument doesn't mean that this person will leave me or doesn't mean that I'm wrong or not good enough or in this way. So it's an interesting balance of, yes, like to me, always lean into your fear, but are you unnecessarily looking for something to fix? Are you unnecessarily looking for something to bring up that you don't need to bring up because maybe it already is healed and you've done enough and you are enough and you're just looking for another thing to like fix about yourself.
The addiction to doing that. I mean, that's really what it is. And I think underlying what message we are giving ourselves when we are in a constant process of chasing the next fix is, I'm not okay. I'm not okay the way that I am. So I need to find the next thing to fix me.
Yep.
And that effectively disempowers us, right? It removes our own ability to do anything to feel better within ourselves. It says like, I need to get the next course or the next coach or the next, if I just find the right book, then things will get better. And that's a really, really tricky one. I don't know if you have things to add on that even more, but I certainly have gone through phases of that. And I like what you're talking about the nervous system, because I think that this is something I've been training myself in through listening to, Buddhist teachings and stuff about non-attachment is like, all right. And I love the nuance of when I said becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. I love the distinguishment you made about that doesn't mean live a life full of suffering and just get over it and swallow it. That's not what we're saying. So I'm so glad you brought that up. For me, being comfortable being uncomfortable is this process of when we get activated, triggered emotionally. First, we just, recognize, right? I use the acronym RAIN from the work of Tara Brach. She says, recognize, okay, I'm having a feeling. The feeling is, and like try to name it. Like, okay, my boyfriend, my husband, whoever is talking to me, and I have the need to want to just like shut down right now what they're saying. My body's contracting. I'm feeling anger rise up. I don't even want to look at them. Okay, recognize. The next step is allow. And so you can still be there for the conversation that's happening with your body language open, with your heart open, even if you have that gnawing feeling in the pit of your stomach, even if your throat is closing, just continue to breathe, recognize that you're having a response and allow it. And then the next two parts of the acronym, the I is investigate. And so then, probably later, if you're in a conversation, not at the time, unless you're by yourself having an activation, you can investigate. So you can ask yourself curious questions about the experience that you're having. So where is this really coming from? Or what brought this on, and we're not dogging ourselves here. We're just, we're asking curious questions. And then the last part is nurture. So to nurture the feeling doesn't mean to like, let it do whatever it wants, although we do want to express it without suppressing it. So just like asking that little child in you, like, what does this need right now? Maybe the answer is space. Maybe the answer is rest. Maybe the answer is to go write about it. But what can you do right now? Maybe it's just breathe, just to nurture that feeling that's coming up in you.
Yeah, I like all of that because it's so easy. And then the last one, I think that's the one that hit the most for me, is the nurture part of it.
Yeah. And why did that hit the most for you?
Just because it's like, for me, and I think a lot of men or just people identifying being a masculine practitioner of like it's easy to not nurture. Like even for someone with me who's very loving and open and like soft and sweet and sensitive, is like, to me, I just like, I'm still pretty logical. And then that's surprised me. I'm like, oh, I'm actually really like, I'm very, even how I view the world sometimes. So just nurture is very important, because to me, from my personal experience, it's easy just to skip and just be like, okay, I got it. Boom, let's move on. So nurturing myself and allowing all the feelings has been important.
Yeah, I like to go into this topic more of like saying yes to a feeling, because I think a lot of people, when they hear saying yes to a feeling, they go, well, this isn't a feeling I want. I'm not going to say yes to it. For example, you're feeling anger or rage, and I'm encouraging you to say yes to it. Let's be clear about what that means, right? I'm not saying unleash your anger in an inappropriate place at an inappropriate time that's going to hurt a bunch of people. What am I saying when I'm saying feel your feelings, allow your anger? And so to be clear, and again, I draw a lot of this from the work of Tara Brach. She says that when you say yes to a feeling, you're not saying more of this, please. That's a very different, nuanced, energetic blueprint if we want to go that direction. It's what it's really saying is this too belongs.
This too belongs?
Yes, like this feeling also belongs as part of the library of human experience.
Yeah, like the word library.
Yeah. So it's just like not shaming or judging yourself for having that feeling, because a lot of that of us do that. If we've taught that anger is an inappropriate emotion, to feel it, then therefore somewhere underneath a subconscious second bubble is coming up of guilt or shame. So we're not even feeling just anger, we're feeling guilt and shame. So we don't want that. That's going to create even more problems for us.
More
so
anger.
In your opinion, Ben, how can we, Ben, the fear guy, I love that. How can we, work with these emotions that, let's say, aren't as easy for us to naturally love and accept, like versus things like joy and ecstasy and
Yeah, I think it's exactly what we've kind of touched on, but with what you say on your board, like face fear bravely. It's a teacher. So I view fear as a compass. So it's literally guiding me. So one question I like to ask is, what if fear didn't exist? Like what would I be doing? What would I be saying? How would I be acting? So that reveals my truth. So if fear did not exist, how would I be nurturing anger, or how would I be feeling anger? Right? So going into that emotion of anger, I'm not necessarily an angry person, so I can't like relate to anger. But for me is, I imagine from what I've learned and worked with people, like you said, the guilt and shame of it. Like you feel guilty for being angry, and then you get angry at yourself, and then it just keeps the cycle going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
Instead of just, okay, well, like, why am I afraid of feeling angry? It's so from you and like the men you've worked with, what's a classic, or not a classic, but maybe a common example of why are they afraid to be angry? Or why are they angry or afraid of emotion in general?
I mean, I think actually you kind of hit the nail on the head when you said I'm not an angry person, because I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know if I've met a person who's ever been like, I'm an angry person. Most of us have such a programming around anger that it's just not something we want to express. And I wouldn't tell you that I'm an angry person, because I'm pretty zen and like laid back a lot of times. But I've been working with this concept lately of like, do I have hidden anger? And what does that look like? And how does it manifest for me? And maybe mine doesn't get to the point of anger, but it's like frustration.
Or like rage
Or frustration, or I start to get nitpicky or critical of other people. That's when I know I have pent up anger, is because I'm projecting onto others. And that really starts to create a tightened experience of being human when you start judging and criticizing and picking things out. It's usually reflecting back to you that there's something you need to work on. So even the subtle forms of anger, but to answer your question, like what's a common thing that people deal with? I feel like with men, I see maybe they're women making requests of them, and they're feeling almost like pestered or controlled or like emasculated, right? And they know that if they say anything, they're going to piss her off worse. So they end up shutting down and just holding that. So that's the kind of anger that I think is very, very common. What would you say about that?
Yeah. And that's something that I have seen and I've been more attuned to recently, of like a surprising amount of, like, I kind of always knew that I was like, okay, men are generally more closed, right? Less emotional. But now I've been able to like, and it's interesting we're talking about this, just even in the past week, like just observing men. And I'm like, wow, like, and it could just be for this conversation, who knows, right? From my own knowledge and my own experience. But I'm like, wow, like men, like women too, but specifically for this observation, men are really like, have a lot of fear of, with this like example, like we do close off and like we don't communicate, and then we just judge ourselves hardcore. So that, and I like how you said just briefly about we're not angry people. And then, but I think the fear is like, if I do feel anger, then I am an angry person, which we know that isn't true.
Right.
And that would be like, I can see that for me too, right? Is like, because I feel this one emotion, then I am that forever and always.
Right.
I think that's like the belief that we're telling ourselves, like that I'm wrong for feeling that.
Like saying yes to the feeling means that that's our identity.
Yeah.
So if I say yes to anger, then I'm an angry person. Like that's the fear. So some little reprogramming around that is if we're experiencing an emotion to be like, oh, taking the perspective of a neutral observer, anger is here. That's what I like to say. Grief is here. Depression is here. Anxiety is here, but not I am anxious. I am, depressed. Those sorts of things. That's a really powerful entrainment on a subconscious level when you start saying I am. Like I am is actually like it's God. It's the name of God. So we start putting the I am in front of something we're claiming. Like think about what that is doing to our entire neural circuitry.
So do you say I feel, or what do you say when you get frustrated?
Yeah, you could say I am feeling frustrated.
Is that what you do when you personally, when you feel frustrated?
I like the phrase it's here more. If I'm doing the work internally, I'll say like, oh, frustration is here. Or like Hallie is experiencing frustration.
Interesting. That's
you
cool.
kind of like view it from a higher, like, okay, the avatar that is me in the third dimensional world right now playing the game of planet Earth is feeling frustration. Okay, cool. I should have compassion for her then, because it's like confusing down there and there's a lot of things going on. And I can see that Hallie, me, she is doing her best.
That's cool. I like that. That's interesting. I'm going to play around with that. So for you, I know you already mentioned like the frustration piece. So when do you get frustrated? Again, I'm curious how it aligns like even with me.
When do I get frustrated?
Or when does Hallie, the avatar, experience frustration?
Well, I'll tell you what it's been lately is this.
I said Haley, I said Hallie. I meant.
As this show grows, this has been the biggest thing is in the beginning, it was me and this little field recorder right here and one other friend, Jacob Gossel, as a part of this team that made up the entire thought room was me and Jacob and the Zoom H5 right here. And I would travel around with my backpack and I would just spontaneously interview my friends.
So fun.
Now, as of this week, we've fully filed all the paperwork for Thought Room Enterprises to be formed fully. We're an entity now, and there's a group of 7 working on this show now in
Hallie,
only
that's crazy. 7.
year and a half, right?
Wow.
So think about the learning curve for me in conscious leadership, going from I'm doing this hobby podcast to now I am responsible in some way for, this symbiosis in a team of 7. This is something extra outside of, the gift of podcasting that I, so to speak, signed up for. This is something that I'm having to learn on the fly. And it's very challenging. And I want to do a great job. And I want everyone on the team to love what they're doing and to communicate openly and for us to operate as a company with the principles that I've been trying to live by. That's the integrity piece. So the frustration comes when I feel like I'm not doing a good job, when it's like, oh man, I wasn't as present for the team this week as I wanted to be because we amped up and I'm doing more interviews. So now how do I juggle all these plates? And the voice inside my head, the one that is not true, but sometimes tries to keep us down, will be like, you can't do it all. It's not possible. It's too much. And it's like this underlying theme of like, you're kind of failing. Or like this is your threshold. You can't grow beyond this at this rate. It's like something's got to give. So this is I want to go into this with you because I love our podcast because they're like live coaching sessions for me.
Well, it's like they're fun conversations. Like this is just so everyone knows, this is me as a regular human. Like it's weird. It's not weird. I love it, right? Like I'm a nerd for it. But like I said, my partner said earlier, she's like, and I realized like it takes a special person to be able to have these conversations almost all the time.
Yeah.
So
it's just who you are.
Yeah. And it's fun though, right? Because that's what we want. We'll come back to this, but like me and you are getting paid to be ourselves, right? Which is amazing. And I would love that for everybody. Not as like, because even like you've mentioned the fear guy a couple times, like, yeah, that's like a fun thing, but like, I'm definitely not like attached to that, you know?
Cool.
So it's not like, I am fear guy here to, you know, it's like,
Hear me roar.
My sister, sometimes we poke fun at it. Like, I am the fear guy. I can see the fear in your eyes or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so with the frustration piece, that's interesting. What stuck out to me was that I am failing a little bit.
Definitely.
That seems interesting to dive into.
I think it is. And I think we should, because, you know, I had a coaching session with somebody the other day, and
You coaching them.
yes. And we were talking about fear and the fear of success and fear of failure.
Love it.
And how really I believe the fear of failure is actually always linked to fear of success, because of what we were talking before. It's like, well, it's much easier to blame our circumstance or to blame everything we've got going on as the reason why we're not making it faster toward the thing. But in truth, have you ever considered what happens when you get the thing or you attain that? Well, what does that mean for most people? Well, then I have to call myself even higher. Ooh, that feels scary. And like you said, then now there's the risk of losing all the good things that I've built. So that's, you know, it trips us up. But
it's a lot more responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. But I was having this conversation with this amazing woman, mother, and we were talking about launching her dreams. And she said something to me. I said, why don't you start small? Why don't you start with leading a small gathering around something that you love in your home? Because, you know, I think there's an innate teacher in all of us. And I think as we expand collective consciousness across the globe, raise this vibration, what you're going to see is more people stepping into their own light. And what do I mean by that is, I mean, they're teaching. Everybody's going to be teaching what they do best.
Because it's exactly what we said, is like getting paid to be ourselves.
Right. And everyone's going that direction.
And especially everyone listening right now.
Right.
Every single person is a healer. It's just seeing it and allowing it.
Yes, exactly. And I was saying to her, you don't have to go out tomorrow and lead a seminar for 100 people, but you can have tea after a yoga class and invite all the people from your yoga class to your home to have a discussion about conscious parenting. That's a small step. And she goes, well, I don't know if that will work for me. Like, it would work for you because you're well known. And I just kind of like giggled, and I was like, you know, this is like, I want to tell you where I was 1 year ago. And I was convinced no one was listening. Right. And there's no, like, that's an illusion, whatever level you're at. Like, it's not about anyone knowing who you are. It's about claiming that.
Yeah. And
so what we got to the root of with her was that this isn't about being well known. Like, what's the fear? And she's like, that no one will come.
Yep.
I was like,
always.
There you go. There you go. And I don't care what level you're at. Like, I shared with her that I experienced this when I was launching The Conscious Man. I was like, what if no one signs up? I mean, it's ridiculous, but it came up for me. And I was like, what if no one signs up? And I had so when the first person signed up, I actually got more anxious than when I had no people signed up.
I understand.
This is hilarious, because I was like, well, now there's one person signed up, and what if nobody else signs up? It's just this one person. This is true story. And I had a friend challenge me on this, and they were like, okay, this is great. You have one person interested in what you're teaching. What if no one else signs up? And I went, And they said, would you still run the program? And I said, well, yeah, I'd just end up coaching this person one-on-one, and we would go into the material. And they're like, and don't you think that person would be very happy about that? And I was like, wow, I had such a distorted perception around this. And of course, we had many more people sign up, and it was a huge success, and it was beautiful. But I had to cross that threshold of the fear of like, what if no one comes?
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, if you're out there listening and you have that same fear of like, what if I put this offering out and nobody is interested in it? I promise you that it's not that no one's interested in it. There's probably just some tweaks you could make in your messaging, or to get a little bit more clear energetically, or maybe your fear was still clouding your back call out there. So people were sensing that maybe you weren't fully ready yourself to step into it. Like, these are the things to consider, and it's all feedback. Like, it's all data, and none of it should be reflected back about what it says anything about you as a person. But yeah, I know I took a little.
That's all good.
Yeah.
We're here, Hallie. We're here just freaking vibing. And I will offer one more thing on top of that. So with me specifically, it's interesting. So I'm in the middle of a launch right now when we're recording this, right? Something for coaches, healers, and creators. And it's funny, like, because I have that. So my fear is, it's not like, it's almost just kind of like annoying. It's like, I don't want to put in all the work and then nothing happens.
Right.
Mine is like, I'm not as cool and significant and like whatever as I thought I was. That's really what it is. But for me, I've been told by many people, like mentors, is that I'm actually, so I'm just offering another viewpoint, because I think all of what you said is so important. It could be messaging. It could be your fear that people are feeling subconsciously that they don't even know that why they're not signing up. And it could be another thing that not really many people talk about, because it's, what if you're being protected from it not working out? So this has happened for me. And it is frustrating. I'm not going to lie, because my ego is like, well, hell, I want it now. Like, I'm ready. Like, so many people like, right, Ben, you're amazing. Ben, you're amazing. This work is da 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 da. But it's like the universe, source, or like whatever your purpose is you're learning exactly what you need to right now. It's preparing you for whatever moment. So I just know for me, and it could be easy because like being a logical, normal human, it's like, well, what isn't working? What's going wrong? And it's like, I've done that. I've looked at everything. I was like, well, this feels really good. This looks really good. There's tons of interest in it. But if not as many people sign up as I thought, I'm like, what is it? And to me, it's like, as weird as it sounds, what if you're being protected from it not working out for whatever your mission supposedly is? Like, it's supposed to be shielded or protected right now, and you're going through exactly what you need to. So when it does pop off or explode, then you're ready. But that is nuance in itself, because you could be just procrastinating out of like a fear of the outcome, right? Or you could not be looking into the messaging. You could not be looking to your energy. But if you've done all of that and you're still just like, what the hell? There is something, and like maybe that something is beyond your control.
And I think that's a really great time to bring in prayer and to bring in meditation, because when the puzzle pieces just aren't fitting, even though they look like they should, that for me often happens when I'm putting too much energy outward trying to make a thing happen. And that's when I need to go, okay, source, universe, maybe I haven't been listening. Let me, show me what the next step is. If this is not it, and I'm hurting over this, like I want you to know, universe, that I'm sad that this didn't work out, that I'm feeling attachment.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to relinquish it, but I need some guidance. I believe in living a life free from suffering. So I'm not going to create a story around what this means, but throw me a bone here, show me what the next step is.
Yeah. And it's scary though.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's the whole idea. I mean, it's turning out to be the theme of this podcast, is like riding that edge and just like touching in with it, being willing, staying curious, being willing to be a student and a teacher at the same time.
Yeah, because we are both.
Yes, we're always both.
And so for you, before I forget, did we touch on
I want to close the loop of the frustration.
Yes, the frustration.
I want to hear all your feedback on my...
You laugh nervously.
Let's do it, man. You know I'm not afraid.
I know.
I mean, I'm a little afraid, but I'm willing.
Yeah, that's
See
good.
What I did there?
Ooh, actually, hold on. I want to say that because you just sparked because I was having a thought this morning of like something I want to talk about. Like you can be, what did you just say? You're
I said
afraid
I'm
but willing.
afraid, but I'm willing.
Yeah. So, because I was having a thought of that during this morning of like, you can be afraid, but still do the thing. And you can still feel the feeling. You can still be afraid and trust.
Yeah.
But I like how you were saying, I'm afraid, but I'm willing.
Yes.
So I'm just locking that in my brain.
Yeah. And I promise we will close this loop. But what you just reminded me of is it's an offering I want to create actually. And it's something that I got an insight a long time ago about, but what I'm going to call it is multidimensional emotional mastery.
That sounds cool.
And the idea is what you just said. It's this idea of experiencing more than one thing at the same time. And they could be completely opposing emotions. Like maybe I'm feeling ecstatic, but I'm also feeling fear. Or maybe I'm feeling shame, but I'm also feeling joy. Like say you have an amazing sexual encounter, right? And you're feeling joy in that encounter because you've unlocked something in your sexuality for the first time, but you're also feeling shame because there's another track running below the surface of some subconscious trauma that is coming out to be healed. And what we can do is we can allow all of those tracks to run parallel and simultaneously and just allow the experience without having to lock onto the shame piece and say, this means something. This means, oh, I should never be with this person, or I should, or like to make something out of it and just be like, again, oh, joy is here. Ecstasy is here. Oh, shame is here. Okay. And in a way, they're the same, no one is better or more welcomed than another. They're just different emotional blueprints that we're experiencing, and we can overlay them all at once. I digress.
No, I love this. We're definitely going to close the loop, but this is good because have you heard the quote, like you can't feel gratitude and fear at the same time or something like that? So I was actually thinking about that this morning. I was like, I don't believe that anymore so I love that offering because it's like, it's maybe not at the exact same time, but I'm going back and forth.
Totally.
And so it's like, and so just that quote, again, that just creates more shame and a fear cycle of like never breaking out of it, of, if I'm telling myself, because I am an extremely grateful person, and this even goes back to the beginning of like, I'm not an angry person, but I, Ben, the avatar of human flesh, experience anger. And I'm really excited about this offering, and I'm scared that no one will sign up to.
Totally.
Or not as many people.
Totally.
So it's, I like that. That's going to be super helpful.
Yeah, cool. Well, you're giving me a nudge. Maybe if anybody is down to
let's do it now.
Anyone wants a wait list for multidimensional emotional mastery, send us an email. So
do that.
We'll get you on there.
Say that name one more time. That's so cool.
Multidimensional emotional mastery.
Oof. So it's MDEM.
I'm not sure.
Sounds like a psychedelic.
Yeah, man. Everything we do is a little bit like that.
That's funny. I like that. But anyway, so the frustration piece, this is fun. So you get frustrated. So it was going back to the piece of you feel like you didn't lead well enough, or you didn't do a good enough job as a leader. So you were feeling like, so why do you feel like you fail a little bit? So will you touch more on that?
Yeah, I think it's about perfectionism. Like, I think it's about being a very detail-oriented person and reaching the capacity of how many plates your brain can actually spin. And instead of being like, okay, this is it, this is my limit, I go, oh, why is this my limit? This is holding me back, right?
Ooh, I like this.
Yeah. So I think that's really it, is just this like, physically it's not possible for me to do any more than I'm doing. And there's this frustration, like, why isn't this feeling more joyful and in flow?
Ooh, Hallie, that's good. I love this so much. Cool. So you hit the nail on the head. So the perfectionism of, and you've hit your limit and you feel guilty that you can't do more.
Yeah.
Wow. This is good. I'm just sitting with this for a minute because that's so powerful. Yeah. I imagine for so many people. And I for sure have felt that at some points. So what happens to you or what is the feeling that you feel, or like what comes up when you say, like, if you can't do more, what does that mean?
If I can't do more.
So like if you hit your limit, if Hallie is limited, what does that mean?
Okay, it means a lot of things. It means that, one, I've hit the threshold of growth, which is the illusion. It's like, well, if I can't do more, how am I going to grow this thing bigger? So there's that, because it's like, well, and here's the other thing. I've been getting some people who are like, please do videos on your Instagram, or please do solo episodes. Like, I can't tell you how long I've been skirting around doing more solo episodes, and people want it. And I haven't been, because the fear has been, if I already am at capacity for the incoming, and I want to be in touch with everybody. Like, I love the listeners of this show. I want to write every single one of them back. And what do I know is going to happen when I start stepping out there and really shining my light, like really giving of my gifts, not just showcasing others? Like, things will take off. So it's that fear of success even more. So I think that's it. It's like, I'm keeping myself safe in a way by keeping myself small, because I doubt my own ability to show up with integrity at the scale that I want to grow this to.
Damn, this is good. I'm so happy. Like, this is so fun doing with someone who's so aware, because you're there. Isn't that interesting? You keep yourself, you keep your safe small.
Keep myself safe.
Keep your safe self small.
Yeah.
You keep yourself safe by staying small.
Yeah. Yeah.
Small or safe from what?
Well, I guess the story goes that at this current juncture, I already feel I'm missing details. Like, I already see, okay, I could be more graceful and more on top of it with communicating with the team in this way. I could be more detail oriented in this. Oh, I want to restructure the way that I drop in with guests when they come. And I have all these ideas, right? All of these ideas that are great, and feeling like, well, why would I grow things any bigger until I can lock in all of the ideas that I have currently at this level?
So in one sentence, you keep your small, God, I can't say it. You keep your safe small because why?
I keep myself small because,
Ooh, I see something brewing right there.
yeah, I'm being with it. I really want to be with it in integrity. Yeah, because I think I fear that if I allow it, I don't have to will it to grow bigger. If I allow it to grow bigger, I may feel so overwhelmed that I can't fully claim that I'm in integrity with all the moving pieces. And it is so important to me to produce something in integrity, to still be in integrity with my clients, to still be in integrity with the guests that I spend time with, and to lead like a conscious leader. And I don't want to be a person that sits down here, hits record, sounds like a certain thing, and turns around and isn't. So until I can feel confident that that's not what's going on, then I'm at this threshold.
There's so many different things. So yeah, so what you said right there, like, so potentially being exposed and feeling like a fraud, right? You keep yourself small because then it goes back to the threshold and the plates, because then if you do, and like you said, allow, there's so many nuggets in what you said of, because it's not even willing it, it's allowing it. So what you're doing right now is you're actually willing yourself to stay small.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And it's less about, like you said, okay, being exposed and like being a fraud. It's less about that and more about like, I have to live with me, right? So like, I don't care what anybody else, like we all care to some degree what other people think, but I know that that's an aspect of myself I've done a great deal of healing on, and a lot of throwing up around with ayahuasca. So that piece is like, I'm comfortable with people not always loving me, but I'm not comfortable with me not loving me. I'm not comfortable with me not loving me. And if I am questioning my own integrity, my own deserving, or whatever, that's where things get really hairy.
So if you do drop a plate, if you do allow this to happen, and like to you, what is the worst case scenario? Like, let's say you allow it and you say, okay, I've had this amazing breakthrough where I'm now just going to allow this to happen. What's the worst plate that could drop to you again, to like in like your body, in your soul? Like, what's that worst thing?
The story is that if I really let go of control, allow more people to come in and support this project, support this team with their gifts, that it will become too large for me to keep my fingers on the pulse of every single piece, check every single piece of content and creativity and graphics. And I'm eventually going to have to let things go to other people and other eyes. And the fear is I can't control that. I can't control them. I can't control what if they miss a detail. Okay. When I've built this in a labor of love and I've paid so much attention to every detail and every letter and dotted I and crossed T and reading the show notes and all of these things. And now it's like, it's just not realistic if I want to keep growing. So what do I do with all that when I care so deeply?
So what do you do? So it's like, so for you, it's, man, there's so many layers to this. So I want to try and like keep it simple as far as like the root of it. But it's interesting, right? Because it's you started off as like, it's a perfectionism thing, which also directly stems into like control.
Totally. They're like, they're best friends. They hold hands for sure. I've seen that during ceremonies too. Just like, what is the root of perfectionism? Is control. What is the root of control? Is fear. So there's a fear there always.
Yeah. So one more time. So if you let go of control, what happens?
I mean, it's the unknown always.
So why can't you let go?
Why can't I let go of control? Because if I let go of control, either things will skyrocket or things will crumble. That's the duality happening in my mind. If things crumble, I have to go back to being in poverty, living out of my car on the streets of New York,
which you've done,
hustling. That's the fear.
A very real reality.
It's a very real reality. I mean, it is and it isn't, because it's like now I'm at this point where that would never really happen, probably. But the fear is still there because I've experienced, it's deeply entrained into my nervous system, this very real trauma of living in a time where I had nothing.
Because you're like, again, what we experienced, like you do not want to experience that again.
I don't want to experience that again.
So that's why you keep, again, we talked about nervous system, subconscious, all the things. You're keeping yourself safe, quote unquote, small.
Right.
So you don't have to experience that again.
Right. And then the flip side of the coin is, if I surrender, the other option is that things take off and they're effortless and easy, and the thought room grows, and I'm traveling and speaking all over the country, and things are just kind of naturally going in that trajectory, but I feel like I keep putting the brakes on, So the fear on the other side is, what if I can't handle all that? What if I'm not ready? What if I haven't had enough mentorship or I don't have a guru or whatever. So that's that piece, is really wanting to be in integrity so strongly that I'm putting the brakes on, and the other side is not wanting to fall back into fear of poverty and all that if everything crumbles.
But it seems like the other piece of like blowing up, that seems more resistant, feels like you're having more resistance to that, because it's like the poverty piece, that's not probably true.
Right. That's why it's not as scary.
Yeah. And it's like, and you've done that before, so you could do it again.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. And so that's not really as scary as like, oh, I've done that. Like, it's not that I don't want to it's not that I want to experience that, but that's at least familiar to me. So that's the part of the unknown, right? And that directly ties into like trying to keep yourself safe and small, because you at least know this.
Yeah.
So my question is, like, so you've said all these things. So if you are successful and you're not ready, it basically just means you're not good enough. And that's just right on your board, right? That you have done enough, you are enough, you have enough.
I love that you're reading my little chalkboard here. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, I sat down in meditation one day, and I don't know how many things are up there, like maybe 15 different lines just came through in my head. And so I wrote them down, and they're kind of been these guiding principles of how I'm trying to live right now.
So, Hallie, let's say you let go. First, where do you feel that feeling?
In my stomach.
And what is that feeling?
It's like a stomach dropping, like going down a roller coaster.
Oof.
Sort of feeling.
Cool. So, and then let's say for whatever reason, you are quote unquote not ready. And you drop the plate. The people that you've delegated to for some reason drop the ball. And you let go of control, and it's just like, look, see, I shouldn't have let go.
Yep.
Because now, look, I can do it, and this reflects on me.
Totally.
So if all of that happens, what is like what are your thoughts right now? Is because you said totally, so is it?
That's happened, and
it's happened.
Yeah, so I've had experience of being like, this task I'm going to delegate. And I'm going to let go. But I don't know if I really believe myself when I mean it, because I'm not really letting go, because I'm looking for something to be like.
You're looking for them to mess up so they can prove.
Exactly to my specifications.
Yeah, you're basically looking, like it goes back to the perfectionism of you almost hope it's not good enough so then you can maintain control.
Yeah, it must be like on a subconscious level, because consciously I'm like, I don't want to deal with any of this. I just want to walk in, to hit record, and to do my thing. But here I am, like kind of somehow, as Ram Dass would say, like enjoying the melodrama of it. And so I'm trying to watch the theatrics, the play of my life, and be like, okay, do I enjoy how I'm writing this play right now, this drama, or do I want it to be more like a comedy? So
do you, so let's say, so you do ascend, everything blows up. So to close that loop as far as, so what does that mean? Or like, what is, like, you do delegate, it's already happened. So does that just mean like it reflects poorly on you, or it's just like, oh, I can't trust anybody? What is it?
Usually it's things that are totally inconsequential to everybody else. But to me, I'm like, a period was in the wrong place, or like we didn't have an apostrophe there. And I get, kind of tense around that, because this is my, like words are my zone of genius. Writing is my zone of genius when the copywriting isn't a certain way, or when the details aren't meticulous, or we don't have, the links in the show notes. I'm like, this is important stuff. I want people to be able to find things and to understand and see what we're doing here. So, no one's ever really going to fully be able to touch the vision the way that you do. And I think this is important to say.
Say that to yourself, though.
Okay. No one is ever going to be able to fully understand the vision of the thought room and what I'm creating the way that I do. And so I accept that, acknowledge that, and I also need to do my best to anchor to what the true vision is, while still understanding we're all human beings here working together, trying to make this thing work. And if the energy is not good between us, then it's not working. To me, like, I don't care how the show looks on the surface. If the team's not loving it and loving being together and feeling this experience of flow, then the show's not flowing. And that's just how it goes. So like right now, we're in the middle of like completely overhauling and having team meetings and, hiring a copywriter and all of these things. So it's big growing pains, but it's gorgeous and it's teaching me a lot.
Well, it's cool because you're already doing it. So to me, I think, so I just asked you, what is the game? What's the question game?
20 questions.
Oh, I asked you more than 20 probably. So never mind. But it's like,
yeah.
But all these different things, all these different questions, it's like what you said, it's like inconsequential, right? And you're already doing it, which is the funny thing of what I've realized is you are already doing it. So yeah, what if you do just like allow? And what would that look like? And for you, you said the word crumble. So if you allow things crumble, and it's not about what people think, it's like what you think about yourself. So to hopefully tie this up with a bow, if things crumble, what does that mean about you?
If things crumble, what my brain wants to say is that I didn't stay vigilant enough, because I do believe that I have a message. I do believe I'm worthy of sharing that message. I do believe that what we're doing has integrity. The crumbling feels like if I don't stay on top of the details, these very important messages that I know are helping people profoundly heal their lives don't get heard.
Boom. Okay. So now we're to the point of it, right? So it is more than you, but it's in a good way of like, basically, if I don't control every aspect, people's lives aren't going to change. And that's on me.
I feel a responsibility to the collective.
Amazing. Cool. So let's say, so that's like the root of it, right? I think that's like the heavy piece for you is that's why you're controlling it.
Just casually failing humanity. Like if I don't shine my inner light, like what?
And like, I don't think that's wrong. So coming from someone who's similar to you, and like, I really do also like have that purpose. Like I am here for this. And if I don't do,
Yeah.
And so, even though we were joking about that, I think that is the crumbling piece. Like if this fails, like you fail humanity.
Do you have that too?
Yeah, no, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's not like necessarily a bad thing. So, because that's what also motivates you. Right.
Yeah.
So it's helpful and unhelpful, because it's helpful in the piece where like, this really drives you so you can impact and serve others, but it's keeping you small and safe in the fact of like, you don't want to mess that up.
Right.
And so that's the fear piece, right? So the fear of like not messing it up, basically, that's great. It's weird as it sounds, it is like failing humanity.
Yeah, I know.
So it's
no
like,
pressure.
Yeah. But that's why it feels so heavy. And all these questions, just to like put it simply. So our brain thinks in absolutes, right? So it's not like going back to the anger piece at the very beginning of why can't we just feel anger but not be angry? So it's just our brain thinks very simply.
Right.
So literally, if you let go of one thing and someone leaves out a comma, what your brain and what your emotion is feeling inside your gut is, I have failed humanity. So it's silly, right?
Yeah.
But that's literally like the subconscious belief is, if I let go and this doesn't work, if I fail in any way, because that goes back to your perfectionism piece. You don't want to fail at all.
Right.
It's, I fail humanity. So the simple question for everyone who has figured out their own stuff along this is just, you already know, but is that true? Yes or no?
No.
No?
No.
So does that feeling of, if one thing doesn't go what I expect it to go as, I am failing humanity, is that beneficial to you? Is that helpful?
No.
No. Because you're still holding on. So, and I know you already know this, that by you holding on, it's actually doing more of a disservice.
Right.
right? So
Right.
it's actually doing the opposite of what it's protecting you from. And a lot of people don't realize this, but fear is doing the exact thing it's trying to protect you from.
Yeah.
So by you staying safe and small, it's actually not getting to the more people that you could help.
Right.
So technically you're already failing humanity.
Thanks, Ben.
But that's what I mean, right? Is like you're already doing the thing.
Totally.
And so it's like, no, this isn't true. No, this isn't serving me. So the next step is like, well, Hallie, what do you want to believe then?
Yeah, I want to believe that I don't need to do anything extra. In fact, I can do actionably less, and the show can reach many people organically. I don't have to go seeking. I don't have to, whatever, take on all these sponsorships. I can or I can't, but I don't have to go looking for them. It's like, I trust that if the messages are pure, they're from the heart.
Integrity.
They're in integrity. People will find them no matter what I do, because it's not about me. You know this, it never has been. It's about how much I can get out of the way and speak from the heart and have these universal messages, this wisdom come through and be heard here with the people that I have on.
Yeah. And the most important thing I feel called to tell you, Hallie, is that you're already doing it. And I've said that before, but I think that is important for you to realize, is that it's not that you're not doing it, you already are doing it. So the belief that you think that you're not doing it is just, that's the safe, small, crumble, sick to my stomach falling feeling.
Right.
But I think zooming out is like, oh, look how already natural, look how organic, look how integrity it already is.
Right.
And then you realizing that and stepping into that stepping into that more, like, I actually kind of get like, that's cool, like tingles thinking of, and I love how you just talk about allow, like you don't have to will it.
No.
Boom. So the funny thing is, right, it's the ironic thing about fear of doing the exact thing. It's a mini self-harm because you don't want to let go of control, but it's almost, but you are, but kind of aren't. It's fascinating. So one last time, what do you want to believe? Instead of, I have to stay small to keep myself safe, or I can't let go because if something fails or doesn't work, that I fail humanity. Okay,
I'm putting this out there very strongly, Ben. So this is cool for anyone listening that we can track it back to this moment where I said this publicly on the air. My new story is, I delight in the effortless joy of watching this beautiful creation grow with a life of its own. I surrender to the directionality that this project and all divine projects that are coming through me into this world, I honor their trajectory. I let go of how it needs to look or how fast it needs to grow. And I accept and allow the abundance coming my way. I feel the joy of people letting me know how much these episodes have touched them, how profoundly this one show has impacted their life. For me, that is enough. For me, that is the greatest gift I could ever receive. And I'm worthy of that feeling, that experience.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good. We just gotta let that sit for a minute. But did you notice your body language when you were saying that?
Did you notice my body language while I was saying
so
that?
When you were saying that, it was interesting. Like, and I'm sure people heard it too, for people who are not watching it. Like, you got straight and it was like power. And even there was like no twiddling of fingers or anything. It was just like, ooh, like very powerful. So I just wanted to point that out. And how is that feeling in your stomach right now?
It was great. Like I was going to say, I didn't notice my body language, but I noticed the feeling in my body. And it was kind of like, oh, no one can fuck with the strength that I'm
like
experiencing right now.
I think that's a good description of just strength is what I witnessed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the truth. And again, just to hit this home, that's already you though, Hallie. And everyone else listening, like you've just remembered, right?
Yeah.
And I have a podcast called like, what if you did need to heal? So, but it's both, right? It's like, yes, this is healing, but it's already you. It's like, you already are that strength. You already are allowing. The lie and the fear is that you aren't that.
Right. Right.
Because you already are. And it's already happening. And just when you allow it more, think of how many more people are going to be impacted.
Right. It really does remind me of a roller coaster. Like when you're already strapped in and you're on it and you have the choice to either be like, I don't want to be on this roller coaster. I'm not going to I'm resisting the feelings in my body about this ride and going over these drops and going upside down. Like I'm in resistance to that and I'm terrified. Like that's people who don't like roller coasters, right? And then you've got people who can drop in, surrender,
I like that.
And enjoy the thrill of the temporary astonishment of dropping or going upside down because they have the perspective that this is larger. This is a larger trip. This is not a perpetual moment of dropping and
drop
being
forever.
Upside down.
Yeah.
They can have fun because they know there's an end to it, because they see beyond and they understand it's part of the whole amusement park. This is not a hell on a loop. This is you going through this one part. So I think the more that we can apply that to our lives on the whole, I said to a client the other day, it was like, this period in your life right now is like the part of a movie where everyone wants to cover their eyes and they're cringing, right? I think maybe we've even talked about this before, but it's like, understand that before you came here, somewhere in the ephemeral ether, you raised your hand and looked at the role of being Ben, me being Hallie, and said, yeah, I'm the best one for that role. Cast me in it. And now that we're in it, we forget that we ever chose it. And we go through these periods of the movie that we scripted. And we're in resistance to them. We're like, this part of the movie sucks. I hate this part. If we can zoom out beyond it again and recognize that this is part of the rising tension of the movie, like without this part, the whole movie of our lives wouldn't be as potent, right? It would be a little too vanilla. We're creating this for our own growth. So if you can just laugh about that again, make your movie a comedy, right? Oh, that's so sweet. That's so human. Hallie's struggling with perfectionism right now in the year 2021. Oh, wow. Cool. I bet she'll learn a lot from that. Honestly, if we can say that to ourselves, what we will unlock as far as potential is truly unfathomable.
Amen. One more time for me, Hallie, because I know you have your zone of genius is words, but if you were just to sum up all of what you said of like what your story and what your truth is now, technically what it already is, because you've chose this, right? Just if you could succinctly say it for me, just so I can lock it in and I want to feel it.
I'm not afraid to receive the abundance that is coming my way.
So say that instead of I'm not afraid, what could you replace that with a more empowering?
I allow the abundance that is coming my way to come to me fully, and I receive it with grace and ecstatic joy.
Cool. All right. I'll stop asking you questions.
Are you satisfied?
Yeah.
I love this. This is like, I feel like this happened when I was on your podcast as well. Just like this on the spot coaching, you have such a gift for asking questions, which is why your podcast is so fantastic again. And everyone should go check that out. But yeah, I'm curious for you in this whole experience, because you probably are very much a giver in your life. You're very much a space holder for others.
Yes.
And I want to, in the last part of this interview, challenge you to share with us in the way that I have about your vulnerabilities.
I love that. Yeah. For me, I mean, that's definitely a thing. And that goes back to what we talked about at the beginning is one thing I've been able to do with my partner. And I did it this morning, which is I just voiced like, hey, I've felt these feelings, right? I've felt frustrated or annoyed. And I know that they're not like real. I know that's not my truth. But it's like, yeah, like I'm still, and going back to what we said is like, yeah, I'm still afraid, but I'm willing. I love that. No, right? Of like, I'm willing time and time again to lean into it. But it's like, yes, it gets easier. It does get easier. But then we just go to another level where it still feels as scary. But at least like, yeah, I have the perspective of the roller coaster, which I loved, right? It's like, shit, I'm upside down, right? But like, yeah. I know it's like, I'm going to come back around.
Right.
But even it's like, so very live this morning, right? Of like this course and everything. It's just like, okay. It's like, I've literally done everything I could for it. Right.
This is your new offering.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So in the middle of it right now, and it's closing in a couple of weeks, but, so after this is released, and it'll be fun for me to listen back to it so I can, compare notes and experiences. But it's like, I really have done my best, and so it's like, that is enough. But similar to you, it's like, well, damn, like if this is my limit and it's like, I don't have the knowledge outside of this experience right now. Right. It's frustrating. Yes. So that's what it was this morning, was like, this is annoying. Like I've literally done everything I can. I feel energetically aligned. The words are really good. There's tons of interest, but it didn't just like, sell out in 2 days. Like I was like,
so the frustration was around the way that it sold.
Yeah. So it's like, cause for me and going like creating future moments, right? Living like it's already happened. I can do that. Yeah. And then but at the same time, being in deep surrender is like I know, cause going back to control is like, I've seen too many times of how I've been taken care of how things didn't go my way, of happened exactly for me. So what I realized this morning was like, yes, I am annoyed. Yes, I am frustrated, but I still trust, and I still trust too. So it was coexisting right in that multidimensionality of emotions, which I love, of like, I can do both of these things. It does it right. And so that is very fresh of what I've realized this morning about sharing those emotions, being with both of those emotions, and then knowing that like I have done my best, and being at peace of even what you said about your offering, right? Of like, if only one person signs up, right, then it's like, okay. And we a lot of time avoid that worst case scenario, right? Yeah. But to me, I've come to peace. I'm like, okay, yeah, like, yeah, I'm cool. Like, honestly, like deep down, I trust so much. Like, I really am okay. Yeah. Well,
and here's a cool thing about the one person signing up thing. It's like, if you go back to your why, yeah, is your why to have a sellout course so that you can feel cool and like make a ton of money? Yeah. Or is your why to help people? Yeah. Because then if you do get one person, you've been successful. So you can just relax around the rest of it. But if there's a strong ego attachment to looking cool and having a sellout course, then yeah, there's going to be disappointment there. And it's a beautiful invitation for recalibration on the why.
Yeah, always. And it's so fun. It's just like, it's never over.
It's never over, man. And so that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that insight about that you had this morning. And true to character, it was just tied up neatly with a bow of like what your lesson was from it. But what I really want to ask and what I really want to invite us to slow down with this one, for you to really dig deep and allow yourself to have this experience. I appreciate Hallie
doing this. Most people won't do it like this. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I want you to allow yourself to have the experience of being seen this way. And I want to invite you to share with me something that is not fully worked through, that doesn't have a neat bow, that is an open loop for you as far as like, yeah, man, this is something I'm struggling with right now. And I don't have the perfect soundbite answer to loop it closed with.
Honestly, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Man, Hallie, I appreciate you so much. This is happening perfectly, right? Of like just digging. And it's funny you even say like the perfect sound bite, because I wouldn't have said that, but I can see how it would come off like that. But that's just even me in that self of trying to self-coach, right?
It's who we are.
Of like everything I do.
Yeah, man.
Right. So even live and noticing it that this morning, but I'll just be straight up like, I don't have it figured out. And I'll still be afraid of like the ego attachment. So even though I tied that up in a bow, I'm still afraid.
Yes.
Like not just like some fun thing to say for an Instagram post. No, like I am afraid of it.
Yeah. So again, I'm going to ask you similar questions as you asked me.
Yes.
So if you can actually tune into your body, where do you feel that statement, I'm afraid? Where do you feel it?
It's in my heart.
It's in your heart. And if you focus on your heart and you allow yourself to breathe in the space around and through the heart, just watching, not needing to change anything that's there, can you characterize for me any colors, feelings, or textures in and around the heart space?
It's purple and gold.
It's purple and gold. And what else can you tell me about the personality, about this purple and gold energy moving in and around the heart space?
It's actually like, for whatever reason, it was moving like a phoenix is what was coming to mind.
It's moving like a phoenix. And when you think about the phoenix and you think about the energetic texture and the colors around in and around this space, what is coming to mind as the message that this has for you?
It's just like everything is taken care of. And yeah, it's so interesting actually. I've never seen a phoenix in my heart space like this before.
What does the phoenix mean to you?
To me, it's not the typical as far as like, rising from ashes type of thing, but similar as far as just, it's like a powerful flame, like forever, like an eternal, like, it's just like a eternal, like freedom flame is what I would say.
And is there a time, as you're thinking about all this, is there a time or a memory or an image that comes up as you're inviting this space in your heart and this phoenix to expand, that wants to come forward, wants to come to the surface right now about a memory that is linked to this fear?
Hallie, this is it's weird. It's weird because I have my eyes closed and it's such like a meta moment with you. Like with my eyes closed, I feel like, yeah, it's like timeless and like containerless. It's really cool. But the memory that came up, I know I'm a little boy. There's a couple different ones that it's like bounced back and forth from. But the one that's sticking and that feels most resonant is when my mom got remarried. So my parents were divorced, mom got remarried, and they were married for only a short time, like 6-7 months, less than a year for sure. But at that time I felt like I lost her. Because I felt like I was for sure, still am. Not in the same way, but like the mama's boy, like the sweet boy. And so I felt like I lost her.
How old were you?
How old was I? 7?
And tell me about if you can really get in touch with visioning yourself, little Ben, 7 years old, wherever he was in the home, whatever he was doing by himself, and getting in touch with those feelings of what really feel like abandonment and being left, or a lack of love, a lack of nurturing, and a lack of attention. If you can really melt into that, see him at the height of his emotional experience with nobody around to witness it, how would you describe what he's feeling?
Yeah, the best way is alone.
Alone. Stay there. Breathe with that feeling of being alone, seeing him in the full expression of being alone. And what's he afraid of underneath the aloneness?
I mean, I feel like that's it. Like the fear of being alone, and then the next level would be, unwanted, unlovable.
Yeah. Yeah. And as much as we can, just staying with the feeling of unwanted, unlovable. And again, when you have a mind like yours and a vocation like yours, we want to go into the mind, right? But just staying with that, like the weight of what you just said that I want to reflect back is this deep, visceral fear of being alone because you are unlovable, right? That happened in childhood. It was imprinted at 7 years old. Even though your brilliant intellectual mind can rationalize that you are quite lovable, that your mother loves you, etc., etc., the potent chemical elixir of hormonally the cascade that was happening in your brain, the imprinted fear response, the self-doubt, all of that happened and was stored in your body, in your organs. And it is actually quite a natural response to the events that were happening at the time. So the first thing that we can do is...
Hold on, I'm going to lay down.
No, you lay down, man. Get cozy. This is great. The first thing that I want to invite you to do is center on your breath. Go back to the image of you, the little boy, and see him outside of you. Just be willing to witness him and his experience at the height of the aloneness. And maybe you can see what the other people in the vision are doing. Maybe it's a vision of your mom off with her new husband, and you feeling, allow yourself to amp up this image, even if it feels melodramatic to you. Just trust that it's okay and it's safe for you to feel the full experience of this feeling that you were feeling. And so see him wherever he is in his experience of aloneness. Allow yourself to hear the stories that he's telling in his mind, and witness him as you, or an omniscient version of you in his experience, with compassion. Compassion sometimes just is simply witnessing, because in deciding to witness another, we innately send them the message that their experience is okay, is welcome here, is normal, and it's healthy. Society turns away from things we think are unsightly, right? And that's what brings shame. So right now, our most brave and courageous act is to turn toward that little boy and say, your experience matters. So I want you to be with him now. And I'm going to ask you to consider what it is he most needs to hear right now. And I'm going to ask you to consider what the adult version of you, with all your perspectives, all the trauma, everything you've worked through, what can you kneel down and whisper in his ear now that will offer the nurturing that he needs to hear?
So much was said energetically, but Ben, you know.
Mm.
And it's not just that you're loved in the way that you hear it, but the way that you feel it, like you know. You are endlessly, infinitely, deeply beyond words that only like a knowing can describe. Like you are so loved, like that phoenix.
Yeah.
Just like surging with love, like so powerfully. Mm. And that's what you're afraid of.
Yeah.
But that's what is so beautiful. And that is your gift, is to like that phoenix, that just surging, pulsing, potent love, to have that be hurt or to have that dim down. But that's the real you. And to let that just surge.
So I want to invite you to offer that to little Ben now in your vision space. Maybe put your hands on his shoulder, look him in the eyes, his bright, sparkling blue eyes, and let him know how powerful he is, how pervasively loved he is. And I want you to, in your vision space, watch the subtle nuance of his face. The more you repeat to him that he is loved and that love is untouchable, because that love does not come from outside of him. It is generated within him. And you are giving him the secret at his young age of 7 years old to know that flame, that phoenix, it rises from within him, not without. And that he can rebuild and re-love himself at any time he wants, to ignite that inner power and to unleash a love that is so rapturous that it changes the world. And so spending just one more moment with him, giving him the love that he needs right now, hugging him, encouraging him, letting him know that you will always be there for him, that he has everything that he needs to do what he came here to do, and that he doesn't have to worry about a thing. And then watching him turn around and go off to be a 7-year-old boy, doing whatever it is that 7-year-old boys enjoy most, playing in the way that he loves to play most, and letting yourself gently exit that layer as you watch little Ben play with the largest smile across his face and an expansive, pulsing, radiating, alive, golden heart space. And whenever you're ready, coming back into your body, joining us back in the room, wiggling your toes and your fingers a little bit.
Or Hallie, we could just end it here. This is nice.
Yeah, feeling the aliveness in your whole body. Welcome back.
Yo.
I love that you just were like, I'm laying down.
Yeah,
and
it's like
we just went there.
Yeah, if we're gonna do it, we got to do it. And I'm happy. I want to thank you for encouraging me to go there, because I know you know me and I know you see me. That is like, Ben, you are truly comfortable being the one who gives direction and holds the space.
Yeah.
So thank you for gently and powerfully allowing me to go there. And it was funny, like, yeah, it's because I know we're similar, but you also know me. It's just like, even just like the mind piece was super helpful. And that's why I was like chuckling during it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but thank you. And I will have things afterwards and later things that come up to thank you. But
Yeah.
truly, deeply, and like during like the end of it, I was like, I just wanted to like, do you know how like Iron Man like has the thing in his chest? Just pew.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to just like, I'm going to go freaking like, not destroy, but like it was almost like create.
Yeah.
And like you said, rapturous, just like,
yeah, I felt that.
Just, that's what I feel.
Intuitively, I felt like your heart space wanted to like explode with its strength.
Wonderfully said.
Yes. Yeah. It's just like you offer the world so much in your gift of, like what we do here with sharing wisdom. But I'm feeling that the next level, and this is the phoenix rising. We talked about phoenix rising from the ashes, is like your potential to set the world on fire with the flame of your heart. It's inevitable, but it's going to require you to let that old self burn down first.
I like that. And it's interesting. I had a session last week. It was like a past life healing regression session. That was my first one. And I went back to a time where it was similar. Like, I like how you said it's inevitable. Like this power. And what did you, so explode with strength. I like that. And then what you burn down? What was it? We'll have to go back and listen.
I don't know.
But it was good. Something about burning down, but like in a good way. And it's not just the old self burning down.
No, and like I think what I'm feeling with that intuitively is it is the age of the heart. Okay, the mind is beautiful, it's gorgeous, and it served us well in this like age of information.
Yeah.
But we're going into a golden age of the heart. And so that's happening on a micro level within every single individual's life. So you've reached a certain point mentally, right? Mentally, we can explain all of these things. We know about our respective zone of genius. What is the next level? The next level is embodiment through the prism of the heart. So all of the information we need to cycle through the heart and be speaking, acting, feeling, making our projects, loving people through the heart space, not the mind space. So even the exercise of today is like where the leaders that I respect the most are, yes, people who have a great deal of wisdom, of course, but more so than that, they're willing to share vulnerably from the heart, because that connects us. Otherwise, we put our heroes on pedestals, and what they're doing becomes inaccessible to us because they're so important and they've done this thing or they're so wise. But when we can use the heart to connect and relate with one another on anything we disagree on, anything we want to teach somebody, if you do it through story, if you do it through your heart space, I promise you it will be 10 times more impactful and more profound. And so that's what I want to leave myself with, with you with, and everybody listening with today, is to really use our heart again as that compass for our conversations, our creations, our relationships, and every little magical thing we want to sprinkle into the world.
Boom. Well, Hallie, that was dope.
You're dope, Ben.
Look at what we just did. And like created and collaborated, and just like just the magic and the ebb and the flow and the give and the take and just passing the ball. And like, that was really cool.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
And it could not have happened without the space that you cleared. You really allowed me to be witnessed quite vulnerably in what my challenges were. And in doing that, we created a special resonance here, a special container where we could go even deeper. So I thank you for that. And even again, on a microcosmic level, this podcast interview conversation rather is an example of what can be done in relationships, in life, when we're willing to go just a little bit deeper.
Boom. Amen. Nothing else to say. Just listen to those 2 hours.
Yeah,
Listen again.
So I want to ask you before we sign off, people that resonated with you, your coaching style, want to hear about your retreats, your programs. Where's the best place to find you on the internet or on social media?
All the podcasty things, but in the way that we do it, connecting through the heart. Yeah, honestly, like if you, Hallie, I love how we're ending this. Yeah, if you connect with my heart on not even, I think we mentioned this before at the beginning, I can't remember, but not even through words. Actually, no, that's funny. That was our intention, or that was my intention that I set before we began.
All right. I asked you what your intention for the podcast was before we hit record.
Right. And it was like speaking through the heart where, the words are awesome, but it was more felt instead of, so if that happened for you, tell me about it. I'd love to hear about it. But on Instagram at The Fear Guy, my podcast is feeling-free.com. The podcast is called Feeling Free. The retreats, coaching, offering, whatever, you can go on my website. But not just to do it, but like really if you're vibing. And I know I can feel right now 1 or 2 people at least that I'm excited to talk to in whatever fashion and form that takes. I'm excited to, we know, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I love what you said. And I believe that fully. Like the people that are meant to work with you or me, they will feel it and they will know it. And so, if that is you listening and you're feeling that resonance with Ben, just take the next little step. That's what I always say to people is like, you don't have to decide right now. You don't, it's like, oh, what if I have the money for that investment and this and this? Like, just trust the next step that feels expansive. Don't worry about the rest. Those are the things that will keep you from moving forward. Ride the edge of that fear, right? Be comfortable being a little uncomfortable and just stay curious. Ask the next question. So that's my invitation. I want to leave everyone with today. Everybody signing off of this has some inclination of a thing that they know they're supposed to be doing, or they feel they're supposed to be doing, that they want to be doing. That's the caveat. Because
it's the edge of fear. And I know everyone has a feeling of what that is right now.
Yes. And so my invitation is to, in a gentle way. In a gentle
and powerful
and rapturously honest way, take one small step today in the direction of that thing that you know you want to be doing.
Damn, I love that. That's good, man. I'm like pumped up. Let's go.
All right, man. Thanks again, Ben.